Well, regional bloc Ecowas heads of states have again been meeting to discuss challenges facing the oldest regional bloc in Africa. In recent years, the organization has had to grapple with political and security instability. 5 countries in West Africa recently experienced coups. The issue dominated this past weekend's meeting. Leaders also selected Ghanaian President John Mahama to represent Ecowas as the sole candidate for the AU Assembly Chairperson. For more on this, let's speak to international relations and security analyst Fidel. Amakye, Owusu, welcome back to SABC. So always good to have you with us. There are various issues, as I've just been outlining, that have come out of the discussions that the ECOWAS heads of state have had in the last few days. Let's start with John Mahama first. Why is he the preferred candidate from the bloc to take up this AU job?
Thank you very much for having me. Firstly, let's talk about the personality. This is a man who has served for years in the Ghanaian parliament. He subsequently became a minister of communication, a deputy minister before minister of communication, and then he became vice president and president. So by 2017, he left as president after serving a first term and losing the election as incumbent. He did not hesitate. He handed over peacefully, and he went into position for 8 years. And per the Ghanaian constitution, he was eligible to run for a last term, and so he stood for elections in 2024 and won resoundingly in the country, and currently leading the country and using his stature as a known person across the region to encourage a lot of collaboration and coordination among countries. In recent years, he has tried to bridge the gap between the Sahel states, the group of junta-led states that is in the Sahel, is trying to bridge them, create a bridge between the Sahel states and coastal West African states. So, I mean, he's an astute diplomat as well.
I'll ask you about the Sahel in a moment, but just on Mahama and the African Union, he does have a history of involvement in the structures of the African Union, one of, I think, 3 vice chairpersons at the moment. I stand to be corrected on that, but I think he is. Do you think that experience then from involvement in the AU directly stands him in good stead in terms of this role come 2027?
Yeah, so during his first term as president, he was made Ecowas chairman, and he had 2 terms. He had a renewal of his chairmanship. That was from 2013 up to 2015. And during his tenure, that was when he had to tackle the issue of violent extremism. That was when it had started in 2012, 2013, when extremists captured Gao and Timbuktu, Asian cities of Gao and Timbuktu in central Mali. And it was during his term that West Africa had the worst Ebola crisis epidemic, and it really threatened the entire globe. And it was under his leadership that he created a coordinating center in Accra and physically visited most the affected countries against all odds. When he had internal opposition saying that, well, we are not going to allow such a coordinating center to be created in Accra because of the risk attached. He went ahead to do it, and Ghana did not record any Ebola case, and that was very outstanding. In the case of AU, he has served as an election observer. He has been part of some of the mediations that have gone around the continent, and so he is well known. And recently in the UN, he gave one of the best speeches ever that a leader from Africa can give. He talked about the Palestinian crisis. He talked about resource nationalism, why Africa should leverage on its resources to have a global standing. He spoke about that. He spoke about the issues of blockade against Cuba and many international issues that Africa has pursued, and the poverty, the chronic poverty that is affecting millions of Africa. So in all fields, he stands a good chance, and he is in good standing to really lead the continent in that capacity in 2027.
And you mentioned the Sahel region. There are countries in that part of the continent that at the moment are chewing over the possibility of pulling out of ECOWAS, right, the Economic Community of West African States, and establishing a new regional organization. That's raised concerns, obviously, about the failure, especially of ECOWAS, to integrate, if you will. How do the leaders now intend to deal with that, and what would be the consequences of a Sahel withdrawal?
Yeah, so last month, ECOWAS officially accepted the withdrawal of the Sahel. In fact, they tabled their withdrawal, the motion for their withdrawal. It went back and forth. There were windows for negotiations, but it has not resulted in anything. The president of Senegal, Diomaye Faye, led that negotiation initially. It resulted to nothing. When President Mahama was elected, he's appointed a liaison officer, a known military tactician, to be a liaison between the Sahel state and Ghana, and he has personally tried to talk them back into ECOWAS. Then that has resulted in nothing, and because in fact, well, the positives are that there are some security cooperation between the Sahel state and the coastal states because of this event. But in terms of bringing them back fully into the bloc they had belonged to since 1975, it has resulted in nothing. They are still determined to move away. So last month, ECOWAS gathered and gave them the green light to be what they want to be. And currently, the three countries, being Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, are integrating the economy, doing some political synchronization and other things that shows that they are seriously wanting to come together and break away from the rest of ECOWAS. However, because of the security reasons, because these three countries share long borders with coastal states, so if extremism is currently found in these countries and they are breaking away, coastal states are worried about the security implications of such breakaway. If the breakaway is going to result in the kind of disagreement over security cooperation.
Good to talk to you as always, Fidel. Amakye Owusu, an international relations and national security analyst, speaking to us from Accra, Ghana this evening here on The Full View. You're watching SABC News. Stay with us.